How you doing, guys? Hey, I apologize. My last video, for some odd reason, 2 minutes of the video didn't seem to upload with the rest of it. I don't know if that was my doing or the geniuses at YouTube, but the only thing worth mentioning in it that was cut out is that if you're thinking of attending the memorial, that you're quite able to do this at home. You can buy your own bread, and Denise Hedberg actually has a recipe for it. She makes it herself. And you can buy your own wine. You don't need Watchtower to do this for you. And that's about all I wanted to mention for those of you who were wondering, but I was just pretty much wrapping up the video. Anyways, guys, I will be back in a few seconds. Guys, I was not the most studious kid in school. That was pretty evident because I was the only kid on record that had stayed back in kindergarten. That's true. By the time I hit first grade, I probably wasn't even ready for first grade. I was lost in the fog, always looking out the window. And like I said, I went to a parochial school and these nuns scared the hell out of me. I had a very strict but a very good teacher when I was in first grade. She knew I was horrible at math and was horrible pretty much at any subject, but she was adamant. If anything, he's going to learn how to read. And because of her, I'm an exceptional reader to this day. Now, math class, right from beginning to end, I always had a problem with. And I could never get the gist of it. Multiplication and division, I was lost to at the time. Algebra, forget about it. Adding and subtracting, we'll stick with the basics. I used to do this, the fingers. And always got the ruler on the back of the hand for counting on my fingers. Don't count on your fingers, I was always told. I couldn't figure out why I'm counting. It wasn't until years later I realized why. They wanted you to engage your brain. Some years later, I found out that kids were now allowed to bring calculators to school, which, is that just the same thing as counting on your fingers? It's actually done for you. And in all those years, I never realized really why. As a matter of fact, it wasn't until the mid-2000s that I figured out why. And believe it or not, this was during the old Watchtower study when I was with Jehovah's Witnesses. I rarely, if ever, commented at the Watchtower study, as well as the Tuesday night book study, because I noticed the same scenario. If I was very interested in the subject, I would research it to death. But you'd have the subject here, but you generally had to go to outside sources to get your answers. Sometimes it would take weeks to find your answer. But I noticed something strange about the Watchtower study, and I touched on this a little over a year ago. How can it be a study when the answer is right there? I could never understand how these people could spend hours doing the Watchtower study getting ready for the Sunday. When the answer is right in front of you, even if you look up every scripture, it shouldn't take you that long. And I found out why they do this. It's to condition you into the answer. They will give you all the answers, and they want you to look up the answers from the one source. You don't have to look at outside sources because we've given it to you. And this messed up a lot of the born-ins because they thought this was how you study, but it wasn't a study. They conditioned your brain to look up the one source. And I found out this to be true not only in Watchtower, but as I touched on a previous video, it's worldwide. Now, when I was a kid growing up, I was in junior high school, I believe, at the time, and I used to hang around with this kid, and he lived a few miles away. And when you called somebody, you basically, if they weren't home, you wouldn't get a hold of them. And it wasn't like any of us had caller ID at the time. If they weren't home, you had to wait for them to get you home. This is in the old rotary dials. Now, this friend of mine, he lives some miles away. So we'd walk. Neither one of us had driver's licenses at the time. We were kids. We would meet halfway. And we'd bum around town raising holy hell. Well, there was another friend we had to get a hold of. We were on one side of the lake, so we had to walk all the way around the lake to go to find a payphone. He says, "You got a dime?" "Oh, yeah. They had 10 cents to make a phone call then. And we got off the phone and we're walking back to the park where we were at. And he says to me, "Wouldn't it be cool if we had phones in our back pocket?" I went one step further. And I said, "Wouldn't it be cool if we had television sets in our back pocket?" And I'm talking little portable things. This is back in the day where we had 3 major stations and a handful of UHF stations that you could barely get in. Now, we knew these things were eventually going to happen, but we were looking at it from a 1970 perspective where we would control the device as opposed to it controlling us. We never took into consideration that people were going to change over the decades. As time went on, things got easier for people. Like I said, I noticed this in the Watchtower study. Studying with Jehovah's Witnesses is easy because it's not studying. You're given the answer. They are reliant on Watchtower for those answers. Don't look anywhere else. Like I said, when I did research, I would have to go outside sources. Today, it's easy. All you got to do is Google it up, and there's the answer. Sometimes I wonder how accurate are the answers you're getting on Google. But they've conditioned people. They've conditioned them to look it up. Now people are glued to their devices. Now, see, back in the 1970s, as I said, we looked at it as a toy that we would control. But society is now being controlled by it. I mean, they have gotten so reliant on these things. Like I said in a previous video, everybody's like this. And the thing is, and I'm not an exception to it. I found myself on it quite a bit more often than I've ever been. And I'm thinking, what the hell? So these days, I kind of like to leave my phone at home. And it's annoying sometimes because I'm going to reach for it. Like I said, I like to check my comment sections. Some of you probably noticed I haven't been in a whole lot of comment sections over the last few weeks. Because the thing is, I'm starting to carry these damn things around all the time. Much like everybody else. So like I said, I come down on a lot of people because they're like this. I notice this in work. I notice this with a lot of friends. And I'm guilty of it myself. So for the most part, I like to leave it at home when I don't need it. I'll have to get my phone calls or reply in my comments when I get home. Thing is, I've got a few people that call me that get pissed off because I'm not there right on top of the phone. And in the old days, you had to wait till you got home to answer the phone. So is all of this an accident? No, it is not an accident. This was induced over the last few decades. And why? Because the New World Order wants a society of people that don't question. Right now, I think we all know we're dealing with that. Unless they hear something out of the ordinary and shoot it down, they're spoon-fed information through the media. And that's what they believe. And the shadow government, the people who run the world behind the scenes, this is what they want. They will spoon feed you the information. That, for the most part, isn't true. They'll keep you engaged in things that just don't matter. They keep you in this blinders up, much like Watchtower. And Watchtower is nothing more than a simple tool for the New World Order. They have many tools to keep you focused on things that don't matter. You don't have to look it up. We'll tell you what's what. Let's face it, we all know. I haven't watched the news in years because it's bullshit. Most of what you're hearing is bullshit. Most of what you're reading about is bullshit. But this is what the New World Order wants. Much like what Watchtower wants. Subservient robots that don't question. And this is the society we live in today. I swear, these things might as well be growing out of people's asses because they've become part of people's anatomy. Can you say Mark of the Beast, which will be coming very soon down the line? Anyways, guys, that's something I just wanted to touch on. You guys have a good day, and I'd really love to hear your comments. And if you come across this channel, hit that subscribe button. And I would like to also thank my subscribers. You guys have a good day, and I'll be talking to you soon.